Hi everyone, welcome to Facebook Live and YouTube Live. And I'm going to be taking you down the rabbit hole a little bit to understand really what it is to create the life that you desire. Anybody tells you by doing a quick little meditation or doing visualization is going to change everything is a little bit, I think, selling snake oil. There's a lot that goes into changing your subconscious mind and therefore your projections. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes you can put in something into the subconscious mind and just become one with it. And that's really what we're going to be talking about, becoming one with what you desire, because what you desire does not live out there. It does not live outside your awareness. If once it shows up, what you desire, it's a bunch of light patterns. And we have to learn how to shift from external locus of control to an internal locus of control. So that's what we're going to be talking about: imagery, vision, focus. So the first thing we have to realize is that focus is one of the most important things that we need to practice. This is what changed my life. Years ago, when I was making a decision to be congruent, and instead of talking about the law of attraction all the time, I decided I was going to be committing to a practice to see if it actually works, if focusing on an outcome will help me to achieve that outcome, even though I don't know the actions I need to take in that moment to get to that outcome. Because that's what this is really all about. There are things that we want that there's a very straight line that we need to keep on to get there, to stay on, to get there. All we have to do is take certain actions and we can get somewhere. But there's many things that we need to learn or build skills in doing when we're thinking about something we'd like to obtain in our lives, like a relationship or career or a job, where we're creating something new, where we don't have the ability to know to do A, B, C, and D. And that's what happens a lot when people come into my office and say, I want this, but I don't know where to start. I don't know how. And as soon as people say, I don't know where to start or how, they have a tendency to drop their intention, their vision, because they don't even think it's possible. They delete the fact that it's even possible. So the first thing we have to understand is focus. So what I realized is when I first sat down to start creating the future I desired, I realized I didn't have the ability to focus for more than 10 seconds on what I wanted. I remember sitting down and I remembered I was going to commit one day. I was going to commit to this practice that we're going to be starting next week, this kind of 30-day challenge where anyone who's been to my workshops or have worked with me one-on-one, you have recordings that will help. But really, it's just about sitting still and clearing your mind and only focusing on one thing. And so I sat down to focus on what I wanted, and I remember it like it was yesterday. This is like, I don't know, 13 years ago when I really decided, or actually 15 years ago, when I decided I was going to change. I was going to see if the subconscious mind really had the ability to create the results we desired, right? So I sat down and I remember thinking, okay, well, I don't know what it's going to look like exactly. And then, I start drifting, fall asleep. Oh yeah, that's right. I was visual. Oh yeah. I don't know what it's going to be. I mean, how do I know what's going to be there? I'd find myself eating ice cream. And then I'd start again, and then all of a sudden I'd be on MySpace. Back then I'd go to MySpace and I was like, how did I get here? Then I'd be sleeping again, and then I'd start thinking about what I wanted, and I would just start drifting everywhere. And I realized in that moment, how the hell am I going to experience something outside if I don't have the ability to even pay attention to it inside? Because that would mean if it happened outside, I wouldn't notice it because I can't notice it inside. So I was determined, and I got some guidance that said basically focus on just one thing. And then now I realize that I might as well been asked to focus on my breath, because by putting awareness only on one thing, You are finally taking control of your brain and your body rather than it pulling you like a wild horse everywhere. And this is a practice, whether you're focusing on your breath, whether you're focusing on what's called heart rate variability by focusing on your heart as if you're breathing in and out of it, or a feeling of appreciation, or if you're focusing on a desired outcome. The practice of doing that is actually the practice of being able to intend your future, to be in charge of your intention. That doesn't mean you create the future. Your subconscious is processing 50 million bits of information, last I heard, per second. Your conscious mind 50 per second. So it's not like you're doing it all, but you do have to start with your intent. And your intent is a picture, an image. It has an end result. I'll get to feelings in a moment and why that's a big deal and why that's important to point out the nature of the feelings about those end results. But for now, let's think of it this way. Whenever you want an end result to be experienced in your life, you have to keep your awareness on it, right? So I'm going to talk you through an exercise right now to help you to recognize how to start doing this. See, most people will say to me, well, how do I imagine something that doesn't exist? I say, well, I've never experienced it. How would I imagine it? And if we took that logic, we would never build anything. A chair would have never been built. A skyscraper would have never been built. Anything you see would have never been built or made if we didn't have an idea that existed somewhere that didn't exist in the physical realm or in the brain as an experience. And so this is important to recognize that we have the right and ability to put awareness on a preferred outcome, even though it doesn't exist. And that doesn't mean it just shows up. It just means that as we do that, it's the beginning of showing up. Hey, Mila. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is understand that focus. Okay, so just take a moment. You're going to close your eyes for a moment. Don't do this while you're driving. I just want you to, I'm going to take about 30 seconds and I want you to just close your eyes and bring your awareness to your breathing. And just, if you want to say to yourself, I'm breathing in, breathing out, or inhaling or exhaling, but just become aware of your breathing and watch what happens to your mind. Watch what you're deciding to put your awareness on, something that you decide is important, and watch how your brain will start to tell you what's important. You ready? I'm going to time it. And we're going to do a minute actually. How's that? So all you're doing is focusing on your breathing and you're saying to yourself, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. And at one point halfway through, try to just let go of the words and just stay with your breathing. And starting now. Closing your eyes, become aware of your breathing. Breathing in and breathing out. And every time your mind takes you, just disengage, disconnect, and go back to the breathing. Your brain, even though it's an organ, it works very much like a muscle. It just gets stronger and bigger even as you practice whatever you're practicing. And make sure you go back to the breathing. Good. And it's about a minute right there. Now just notice some of you might have been drifting the whole time. Some of you might have been able to keep that focus. But that's the beginning of understanding how to be in charge of your life, because your life is not your physical reality, because your physical reality is always moving. Things are always changing. It's what you're experiencing inside that is your physical reality. And what you put your awareness on is your experience. Look at it this way. Would you rather be experiencing something for the next 5 years every day in your awareness and your feelings and in your imagination and your experience and your memories and your future projections, and be working on getting closer to it every day and then finally get it in 5 years, or not? Or would you rather be filled with misery and uncomfortable patterns of thoughts and then hopefully get it in 5 years by working hard or whatever it is you're doing to get there? And this is important because oftentimes one of the most common thing I hear is the reason I don't commit with all of my being to something is because what if it doesn't happen? What if I do all of this and it doesn't happen? And people seem to forget, we seem to forget it's not happening now. So you might as well have a commitment and focus and a feeling in your body of purpose and it not happening now anyway. And so that's important to distinguish between your mind and what you think is really happening. Think about it. What if I commit and it doesn't happen? Well, the very commitment to something is the happening. It's the image you want, it's the feeling you want, it's the excitement of the possibility, because what you're experiencing right now is not happening. The thing is not happening. So why do we say that? And the reason we say I don't want to commit because what if it doesn't happen is because we've been basically conditioned into a way of being that is, to my mind, and this is just my point of view, but this is my experience, is we've been conditioned into a world of compliance and approval. So you basically do things and you're good and you get a reward, and you don't do things and you're bad and you get consequence, right? So what people start doing is they start looking for answers. They come to someone like me for hypnotherapy or NLP. They go to a doctor for a pill. They go to somebody for something, or they'll go to school to get a degree, and they'll say, "What do I need to do to get something? Tell me what I need to do." And so they just work hard in order to get it. But when you're creating something that your heart desires, or something that's creative or purposeful, that doesn't have any rules involved in it, it's terrifying, because you're going to do all this hard work and you may not get rewarded. And so the body and brain says, I don't want to work hard if there's no real good reason for working hard. And this is where we have to flip it. When I learned this, my life changed. I no longer work hard to work hard. In fact, research shows that when people work hard just to feel productive, they're more likely to be less productive once they recognize that how productive they've been, because they're not basing their activity or their behavior, their actions on getting closer to a desired outcome. They're basing their behavior on feeling like they have a right to relax, basing all that behavior and action on feeling like I'm productive, I did well, and now I can relax. Now I can feel good about myself. And that's key, because once you switch it and you realize your awareness on what you want is more real than the physical world can ever be, and then you start to realize there's a kind of a duality. It's very tricky, but once you get it, it's worth going down this rabbit hole here. There's a duality of having it internally and wanting it externally. There's a lot of questions with the law of attraction where people say, well, if you have it and act like you have it, then why would I move towards it? You have to act and feel like you have it inside, because the state doesn't happen outside, it happens inside. So you're in charge of your own state. You can imagine something, feel great, and then go and achieve an outcome, try to achieve an outcome. That's great. That's an outcome. That's a physical intention and outcome. But if you think a bunch of electrons are going to change your state, you're in trouble. We're in trouble. It might give us the permission for momentarily to feel like we can relax or feel good about ourselves or feel important. But then the next morning we crash. And this is what happens when people attempt to achieve goals, right? They attempt to achieve goals by taking tons of actions. And yet the goal is not even necessarily an intention. It's an intention to feel good. It's not an external intention. So they may have the wherewithal to achieve that goal, or the know-how, or even the luck. But when they get it, they're miserable, because they're confusing a goal and an outcome with a state. Your state of being is up to you. We're going to take you through that exercise in a moment to help you go a little further into focusing on what you have, so you realize you can really have something inside and then want it outside. Anybody who creates anything has had to have it inside. Could you imagine saying, I don't want, or I'm tired of ranch houses. I'm tired of that style. I'm really tired of it, right? And that's going to build a skyscraper. Like, it just doesn't work. I'm going to work hard to, what are you showing me? Somebody's showing me something here. What is that? I can't see anything. Hi. Are people asking me questions? Okay, not okay. Sorry. So this is what we're going to do. Okay. First thing I want you to do is think about what you think. This is what changed my life too. First, the focus changed it. Then I started realizing for 20 minutes a day, 3 times a day, I had the right to put my awareness on experience I wanted. Someone would say, well, that's delusional. What's delusional? Imagining what I wanted. That means anyone who thought of a skyscraper for a year before it was built was delusional. So to put your awareness and enjoy something before it happens is not only not delusional, it's the only way you can create anything, is to have it first. So take a moment, close your eyes again, go back to your breathing, and become aware of your breathing. Now, this time with the exhalation, I want you to just imagine all the tension is draining out of your body on the exhalation. Just imagine all the tension is draining out of your body. And keep your awareness on the breathing, inhaling and exhaling. Now allow the exhalation to slow down a bit. Just allow it to slow down as you imagine all the tension just draining out of your body. Now, on the next exhalation, imagine you're letting go of thousands of balloon strings. And this represents all the thoughts you thought you needed to identify with and hold on to. That's the tension mechanism. Whenever we're in tension, we can't create anything new. It has to be positive structural tension created by desire, not by craving or fear. Keep releasing and letting go. Now, bring your awareness to your heart and just imagine you're breathing in and out of your heart, as if there's air, like a light, moving in and out through your heart as you inhale and exhale. And just keep noticing now, instead of the inhaling or inhalation and exhalation, just imagine the light moving in through your heart and out through your heart. Continuing to slow down your exhalation and release all your tension. Now, what I have learned over and over again, the only way to allow the subconscious, the body, brain, and if you're spiritual, the collective, the universe, if you will, the only way I've seen it work consistently, and it's been consistent in my life, is when you become one with the experience you're seeking in your awareness in the invisible realm. I'll get to that in a minute, but just keep breathing in and out of your heart. But most people, when they think they're becoming one with something, they're really grasping for it because their body and their brain, their subconscious mind, is holding on to everything that they can't accept. And as soon as there's judgment around patterns, around emotions, around possibilities, you can't put your awareness on what you want. And when you put your awareness on what you want, it doesn't just show up. Energy happens, things happen, change happens, physical experiences happen, pressure builds, emotions come and go. If we tighten up around that, then we hold that rather than what we want. If we realize we're processing all that other stuff of impermanence, We're perpetually moving closer to what we already are putting our awareness on. We're perpetually moving closer to it physically as we are in love with it internally. So you can either love what you want into existence or you can judge it. So keep breathing and put your awareness on your heart. And just now imagine a beautiful color. That light is a beautiful color. And you're starting to feel this feeling of appreciation. Just appreciate the light. Really appreciate the experience and acquiesce to it. Don't reach for it. Don't imagine. Imagination is a trap when manifesting. Don't imagine. Pretend it already exists. You're just putting your awareness on it. So you're you're becoming aware of something that already exists in the, let's just call it the field, rather than trying to create something. You don't really create anything. The only power we really have in consciousness is awareness. That's the only thing. Everything else forms because of what we're aware of, and everything else we have problems around because of what we judge. So become aware of a beautiful light moving into your heart and just feel it soaking into every cell in your body. Now notice you're not creating anything, you're just noticing it. And just feel yourself noticing that feeling and that light. And feel it and experience yourself literally acquiescing to it, soaking it in, enveloping yourself in the light. But notice with every exhalation, you have to let go of something to make more room. This is the key here. With every inhalation, you surrender to it, you receive it. But with every exhalation, you literally have to disengage from any emotion or thoughts that are coming and going that you normally hold on to or tighten around or judge. And as you let them come and go, you can go deeper into this receiving experience. So it's really a combination right here of acceptance, disengaging, and then receiving. Awareness, acceptance, disengaging, and then receiving, going even deeper until you become one with this light. Literally soak it in. Now, the reason I'm using light, a beautiful color, is because there's not a lot of conflict to that. Meaning your body and brain will allow yourself to surrender to a beautiful green light, if you will, if you're doing green or imagining green light. But now if I ask you to bring to your awareness a result you would like in your life, as soon as you put your awareness on the image or the scene that represents it, all the patterns, all the beliefs are going to come up that are in conflict with you being aware of this intention. And the subconscious mind basically has two patterns of energy that stop you from having what you want in the now, therefore creating it in the future. The one pattern is a belief system, and it basically says, I know you like this, but from our experience, this is going to happen. This is how men are. This is how people are. This is how, money is. This is how government is, whatever it is. It doesn't mean that those things don't exist, but they come and go in a world of impermanence all the time. We just decided that that was the only thing we were going to hold on to and project. So even if the thing we wanted showed up for a moment, we wouldn't even notice it because we'd be expecting the other. So it's basically a generalization and expectation. And what you want to tell the brain when the image comes up, that is saying this is how it is. You say to the brain as you're breathing in and taking in the opposite, you say to it, I'm not saying that this doesn't happen in the world. It has a right to be in the world. It's going to come and go. But I rather love this here and now than judge that in the future or the past. And then you go deeper. And you go deeper. And you go deeper. The second thing your brain's going to give you, besides a pattern of projection and generalization called a belief, are emotions, because as you start to put your awareness on what you think in the outside world, when it happens, you think will give you a feeling, you start to feel good. And if 5 or 6 basic feelings that we're looking for, that we think the external world, when looking a certain way, will give us, and those feelings, as we start to feel them, are in conflict with unprocessed emotions. So these are some of the feelings that we think life will give us. I think that if I get that job, I will feel wanted, purposeful, needed, included, or that person adored, wanted, or that money abundant and free, or safe, or grateful, or excited. Now, you notice that these are all states of being. They have nothing to do with electrons. They're states of being. But somewhere along our lives, from 0 to about 12, these emotions got stuck. And we thought that we had to hold these uncomfortable emotions. And that's what creates desire and fantasy. It's like, I want that to happen because that will give me the emotions I'm allowed to now have, because these emotions that I'm holding that I don't like are who I've become. This is what creates a craving for a wanting. And this is why people sell tons of product just promising something, because people are in a craving discomfort, and you sell someone hope. They want to get it because they think it's going to give them permission to get rid of an emotion. But the only thing that gets rid of an emotion is acceptance, allowing it, reframing it, and recognizing it was a moment passing. It's not a belief. It's not meaning. It's not a projection. It's just a moment passing in the world of impermanence. When you start to get that the real you is in a permanent consciousness that can enjoy everything while the body and brain is processing everything, that symbiotic relationship of that juxtaposition of what you are putting awareness on and the acceptance of the flow of reality starts to not only free you from any desire, but everything your awareness is on just starts to morph into it. That's why they say when you let go, things happen. That's when they say you stop wanting so much, things happen. And so as you go back to that breathing now, if you haven't if you're not still doing the breathing, as you go back to it and just notice you're breathing in and out. Breathe in the feeling of appreciation. And the first thing I want you to recognize that all you're really doing is trying to do 2 things when you want something. You're trying to give yourself permission to feel that good, and you're giving yourself permission to let go of everything that you thought you needed to hold that stopped you from feeling that good. And that's in the now. We'll deal with the creation part in a second. So put your awareness on your heart again. Feel yourself breathing in and out that light right in through your heart. And with every exhalation, it's very important you slow down the exhalation. You imagine all the tension draining out of your body. This gives you a feeling of freedom of fear so you can receive freedom of the stress response. You're going from sympathetic to parasympathetic. And in parasympathetic, we get to create. So slow down the exhalation. Feel all the sand draining out of your body. Bring your awareness to your breathing as if you're receiving. And don't try to create anything in the now. The nothing exists but the now. So in the now, just have everything. So put your awareness on one scene that represents really what you want. Is just a right to feel adored, free, important. If it's abundance, a feeling of having or a feeling of safety. But just feel the feelings in the body. And any pattern, either a projection, which is a belief, or an emotion, which is unprocessed moment, that is in conflict with that, you disengage, you give it permission to come and go. You see it as part of the impermanent world that comes and goes forever. It can be, it might be, when it comes, it goes. And then same with your emotions. Just keep letting them be okay. Just keep disengaging from them, reframing them. And then with each inhalation, you soak in that scene a little bit more and start using all five senses for no other reason for the right to feel this good. Now, if you're feeling uncomfortable, that's because the body is trying to release emotions and your body's starting to tense around those emotions because you told the body these emotions are a problem. They are not. They were your body processing a moment and learning from it so it can create the physical version. It was called energy. It was called energy in motion, emotion, pressure, change, learning, adrenaline, excitement, power, force. And it was trying to change for you. So you don't have to feel great all the time. You just have to be aware that if you are aware of what you want, everything else comes and goes. So if it helps, tense up your muscles. If you're feeling uncomfortable, squeeze your muscles, squeeze your chest, squeeze your body, squeeze your face, squeeze your mind. Imagine you're squeezing what you don't like back into your mind, back into your body, and hold it, hold it. This is what we do when we say no to sensations and memories and patterns of energy coming and going. The Buddhists call sticky mind. This is how it sticks. And let go. Now go a little bit deeper and receive. For no other reason, to give yourself in the now the chemistry you want. Now, as you become only aware of the feeling of being adored, applauded, needed, safe, appreciated, whatever that is, as you become aware of what you love, not what you want, what you love, and what you love is in the field, it's in your mind, it's in your awareness. This doesn't happen in the world, it happens here. As you become aware of it, I'm going to ask you a question as you drop the images that made you feel so good. What is more likely as you become aware of how good you feel right now? You'll find that you're really feeling just the right to be present without angst, without craving, without aversions or attachments. As you're feeling really comfortable right now, and just a feeling in your heart of appreciation, what is more likely if any state is going to create that future for you? If any state could help you, this state or any other state? What is more likely for you to love the learning process of getting closer to the physical version of that internal image? This state or any other state? And why do you really crave anything other than the right to feel this good? And the most important question is, would you rather have that thing that you wanted show up and not give yourself permission to feel the state? Or would you rather have the state and maybe that shows up? Another way to look at it, would you rather be feeling this good for the next 2 years and maybe it shows up and maybe it doesn't? Or would you rather not feel this good for the next 2 years and maybe it shows up and maybe it doesn't? And now, most people will say, if I feel this good, I won't do anything. But don't you see that as you think about what you love in your inner world and how it would look in the outer world, and you feel good that feels inside, don't you feel a pulling starting to happen? Like it's being pulled to you and you to it? That is pure, unadulterated desire. That's attraction. That's pulling. That's positive structural tension. That's passion. That's desire. That is your subconscious creating for you, as long as you don't get in your way. And how do you get in your way? You're on your way and something happens and you get triggered and you have an emotion and you have a belief. The belief is, oh, this is not going to happen, or the emotion is sadness, fear, shame, hurt, or guilt. But if you realize that those moments were being processed through this feeling, through this intention, then you stay in this beautiful, beautiful creative state of holding what you want, focusing on what you want, loving what you want. But because you're accepting everything and processing everything and seeing everything as feedback, everything becomes flow. Everything. And the last point I want to make here is, as you're feeling really good, commitment. Commitment. When you make a decision to have a right to have something here and then to have a right to have it in the world, that commitment, that decision feels so good within itself that you don't mind living out of your car if you have to, because you're living in your right to choose, your right to focus on, your right to have what you want. And so you're always feeling great. You're just processing, because you can feel great and be frustrated and learning and having emotions coming and going and growth happening. That's what learning's about, pressure and change. But as soon as you hit a wall and you call that wall a problem rather than the solution, that seed stops growing to become it stops becoming a tree. That baby doesn't push through the birth canal. The muscle doesn't grow and heal and get the neurons don't fire and rewire. As soon as you stop it, there's no change. As soon as you breathe through it like a muscle stretch and go deeper into your desire, then you override all the impulsivity, all the reactivity, and all the emotions of the body brain trying to stop things, because it's an efficiency machine. But once you have what's called I want power, and you desire something, and you have pure desire, where you have only the desire of creating the physical version of what you gave yourself permission to have now, nothing will stop you. So it's not about being aggressive. It's not about being forceful. It's about being committed and in love with your outcome and seeing everything as feedback. I hope that helps you today.